This is Sweden, the country that will pay immigrants $34,000 to go back home.
Bro, let's all immigrate to Sweden and then have them pay us $34K to go home.
Why would you even place people to live here? You placed us in one area and then they just put all the bad things on us. We're like the scapegoat.
So Sweden has never been like this blue-eyed, blonde country. The idea of a national state is old.
We have as many bombings per capita as in Mexico.
Holy shit.
2 people are dead in a knife attack in an IKEA store in Sweden.
Mohammed, du kommer inte upp här. Därför han högg mig med en kniv. Såg ni det?
Sweden began to experience a surge in gang violence, drug trafficking, shootings, grenade explosions, gang rapes, and other violent crimes when 163,000 migrants fled to Sweden during the refugee crisis in 2015.
Yeah, I've seen that video on Twitter. That dude literally climbs up slowly. He's like, don't come in, don't come in. Stabs him, breaks his window, breaks in, kills him.
Afghanistan and Iraq, leading the Swedish public to wonder if integration was possible and if the benefits of importing third world migrants were worth the diversity and cheap labor they brought. With some Swedish politicians using the rise in crime to argue for less open borders, others fear it may lead to unjust vilification of many peaceful, productive migrants seeking a better life away from their war-torn country. But does multiculturalism work? Does Sweden want more migrants?
Does
Are these migrants
multiculturalism
trying to
work?
assimilate into Swedish society?
That's crazy,
What does it mean
Tyler.
to be a Swede in 2024?
What are your thoughts on migration?
I think it's a good thing, you know, because some people, like, you know, people from places like, for example, Ukraine or Palestine, like, they need somewhere to go. We have, like, unfortunately, the government in Sweden is a little bit, like, racist, I think.
Okay.
So,
Are there any negatives you've observed or heard of?
Yeah, of course you see all these shootings and stuff like that, but it's what it is.
Sweden is a very interesting place for multiculturalism. I lived here in 2012 and it was very homogenous at that time. I noticed, this is my first time back in 12 years, and I noticed that it's become a little bit more diverse. I'm not sure necessarily how Swedes feel about that diversity.
What specifically do Swedish people gain from the importation of third world migrants?
I mean, I work in the healthcare system and I have colleagues coming from all over the world, and we need those people. So for the moment, birth rates are going down, and we really need to even out the population pyramid.
I think Sweden has an obligation to let people from other places in. Like, let's say a refugee.
Yes.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Why?
We at least did have the finances. I think that we should be a helpful country. I think it's important to be open, but I also think that we need to be responsible to the people that we are welcoming to this country to make them integrate as good as possibly can be done.
I think the general idea now in this country is that we want to be more reluctant in letting in too much because we've seen how things can escalate.
The remigration concept, I'm sure you've heard of it.
I don't think that's going to work.
Okay.
To be honest.
Do you think it'll be effective? Will people go home if offered the sufficient amount?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think so. Depends on what country and.
Would you take 34K to move back to your country?
A little more nuanced.
If you were from like a third world country.
I've heard that they are enacting some new things. They're trying to, with like paying some people to leave. I think they have lots of room and lots of opportunity to spend their money in better ways. And I think it's already hard with getting like a personal number and things here. So I think there's a lot more that can be done for immigrants coming to Sweden.
Why is diversity good in your opinion?
I think we need skills and competence from other countries. I also think that we do get a lot of benefits from other cultural aspects. Food.
What are your thoughts on multiculturalism here in Sweden?
Yeah, it's like a big melting pot.
Does it work well?
Yeah, it works. Yes.
You consider yourself a Swede?
No.
No? Why not?
Different culture. I have different culture.
What does it mean to be Swedish?
In my opinion, Swedish
means
to be open, to be interested in internationalism.
I think that we should be more welcoming and like trying to get them into this society, because now it's more like they get casted out into these like cities outside the city.
All right.
And they get all like bundled up there. The government are like, oh my god, there's criminality going on.
Is there criminality, or is that myth?
It's a big problem.
Okay.
Yeah, but I think it's because these people don't get like integrated into society, so they have to do certain things to like survive and get money because the government doesn't help them, I think.
It was thousands of them coming, well, 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago.
Yeah.
That
Too
was
much?
Yes, of course.
Okay.
We couldn't take care of them.
Sure. Do you think these people that are coming to Sweden are trying to integrate or not trying to integrate?
Oh, that depends on what culture they come from.
Okay.
Well, you know, in the 80s or 70s, there comes a lot of Indians from Africa.
Okay.
They have integrated very well.
Very well. First of all, where are you from?
I'm from Nigeria. I came to study for a PhD, Department of Economic History and International Relations.
So you've been here for 7 years now?
About 7 years now, yes.
Do you feel Swedish?
Not fully yet. I don't speak good Swedish yet.
Okay.
But the other thing also is that, you know, the Swedish
7
community...
years
is
old.
also from-
Drake with 100 bits.
The accent.
So fucking much, Drake. Love you. My sister spent like 4 years in Germany. That's crazy. Just spending like 6, 4, 5 years out of your home country.
Sometimes it's not there. You have friends that you come to maybe meet at workplace or in school and things like that. But I don't think it goes beyond that in most cases. The bond is not usually there like that.
Do you think as an outsider it's tougher to integrate here?
I think so.
What are your thoughts on immigrants coming to Sweden? Good or bad thing?
I really like it.
Okay.
My wife is from Colombia.
Okay.
Yeah. Multiculturalism has made Sweden a better place
appreciate you so
compared
much,
to what it
Drake.
was like when I was growing up.
France or
so
Germany.
I'm all in favor.
Do you
I would
think
do Japan.
multiculturalism here in Sweden works?
It is a very tough question because it has pros and cons. I have seen so many people that think that multiculturalism is diluting, you know, the Swedish culture. However, what I know as somebody that is a researcher is that culture is not static. Culture is dynamic. There are some things that, even in Sweden, that Swedish people used
Yeah, I
to
wanna
do
live in
50 years
Japan,
ago,
bro.
that when people do now,
Buy
they
down, move
consider
to
to be
Japan.
appalling.
Sure.
And
Be
this
roomies.
is what it is. Things are always changing.
Yeah,
Multiculturalism has some advantages in that. For example, someone like me that came for a PhD,
Yeah.
I will consider myself to be an expert, at least in my field.
Yeah.
And that is an addition to Sweden. And there are so many that will bring their experiences, very smart people that can contribute to the system. At the same time, you have people that constitute nuisance within the system. These sort of people are not limited to the migrant community because you find very people with
Really
misdemeanors.
educated, I know, bro. Well spoken.
Our lives are so
In
integrated
Germany.
with other countries, so I think small countries, especially, are really.
And more
dependent
gifts with
on
200
migration,
bits.
So I
The
think-
Southern girls coming through. Welcome
not as
back.
good as
Thank you
I
for
think it
200
can.
bits.
It can do.
Okay.
It's developed the society, I think,
Appreciate.
to learn from different cultures. I think we have a lot to thank multicultural for, actually,
I'm
like
down,
the
sweetie
food
pie.
cultural, it gives job opportunities.
Yeah, I love multicultural Sweden. Yeah, I think it works, and I love diversity.
Okay.
I mean, the whole Swedish culture is based on immigration and migration from other countries and so forth. Yeah.
And if I were to move here to Sweden, could I become Swedish?
Yeah, I'd say so.
You think
Yeah,
so?
yeah.
All right.
But the thing is, that's just because you're American. If you were from another country, or you wouldn't be welcome. But since you're American and highly educated,
What are you talking
no, that's what.
No,
So if I came from Somalia, would I be welcomed?
If you were to be Somali, they would put you in like the ghetto, and
They would put me there, or I would
Yeah.
move there because.
you would move there, and since the financial issue in Sweden, like it's not very good right now, you would have to learn Swedish, and then the society would look down upon you, or would look down on
I
you.
see. You have the marginalization.
Yes, and then
And you're thinking something.
No, I agree. I understand where he's coming from. And definitely there is an issue
All right.
in Sweden that we have to work on.
The gun
But it's-
violence
I'm
and-
happy you're
yeah.
talking about this because
it's something that needs to be said. It's important to get light on. Yeah, but it's easy to look at Sweden.
Damn,
oh,
that
such a
girl
beautiful
can't get a
country.
word
Very
out.
pretty.
It is. I love Sweden, but I mean, you can tell I'm not typical Swedish, but I feel I fit in.
Okay.
It's about how you grow up.
Can we get a dance before we leave? Can we see you guys? There we go. There we go. The wonders of multiculturalism.
So I headed to Rinkeby, the infamous no-go zone, where the 60 Minutes camera crew got attacked and this guy fought
Holy
back in his
shit.
wheelchair. With 91% of Rinkeby's population immigrants as of 2018, it's a symbol of the parallel societies in Sweden, where migrants seem to live in an entirely different world than the rest of their Swedish neighbors, and some say it represents the problems that arise when migrants do not properly integrate into Swedish society. But real quick,
Did you know 2.9 billion records were stolen from national public data a few months ago? Billion with a B. We're talking names, birthdays, phone numbers, addresses, and most alarmingly, social security numbers. Imagine this.
Damn.
Someone gets a hold of your loved one's social security and your loved one. They sponsor
Is this an ad?
and insurance. Clean up the. Let's go to Rinkeby. Is it actually dangerous?
It is, yes.
Okay. What's going on there?
You have open drug selling on the
Okay.
streets. You have multiple gangs from Rinkeby.
This is where the Swedish gangs are?
To some extent, yeah.
Okay. We can talk to some people out here. Excuse me,
Damn.
question for you. Where are you from? Where are you from?
Oj, jag vet inte. Jag är ny.
You from Sweden?
Nej.
Where are you from?
Oj, jag kan inte.
Country?
Jag kan inte svenska prata.
Okay.
Ja.
Okay. We got a shop right here.
Yeah,
We're
he was
basically
speaking
in a
English.
little Middle Eastern community, it seems
For
like.
real,
Alright,
Alice,
so rumor
snuck
has
that
it
one
we're
in
in
there
a
on me.
no-go zone. Obviously, we've gone. The question is, will we go back home in one piece? Where are they from? Why did they come here? How is life?
Where
Let's
do
go
they
find
come
out.
from? Cocknot
How long have you
Joe.
lived in Rinkeby?
For about a year.
Okay. Where are you from originally?
I'm from Syria.
Okay.
But I have lived in Risne, which is very close to here. So yeah.
Okay, so you're born and raised here in Sweden?
No, I came here in 2015. So
From Syria?
yeah.
So how's your experience been in Sweden as a Syrian?
Well, it was fine. I grew up here, so it feels like natural.
Damn,
Natural.
Syria's insane.
From Sweden.
Yeah.
Or, yeah. I was young, so
Okay.
I don't really know I didn't have that like tough experience or so. But yeah, it's a nice place actually. Before I moved here, I
Aw.
heard that it was like
Like the hood, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. But no, I wouldn't say that.
Okay.
I like Rinkeby
Because
actually.
they call it a no-go zone. Is that accurate? I mean, we're here, right?
Absolutely not.
No?
I go to the gym like at 10 o'clock at night.
Okay.
It's
Damn.
fine. As long as you're not involved in the gangs and so
Damn.
on, you're fine, I would
Okay.
say.
Is this a sort of parallel society, as they call it? Different world within a world sort of thing?
They want it to be like that. Actually,
The Swedes?
Yeah.
Okay.
I would say they act like no, we want you to be involved
Okay.
and be a part of the society. But why would you even place people to live here? You placed us in one like area, and then they just put all the
Damn.
bad things on us. We're
Okay.
like the scapegoat. Basically, we sell the drugs, they buy them.
Sure.
But if they wouldn't buy, we wouldn't sell.
So let me ask you this. Do people have economic opportunity outside of some of this criminality, like the drug selling, or are young men kind of just like, okay, I guess I'll go sell drugs?
Well, Sweden
Damn.
have a free education. You can become a doctor and you
Anybody
get
ever
money
sold
from
drugs,
CSN,
Chad?
for example,
Anybody
for
been a
studying.
drug
I
dealer?
get 4,000
I
crowns
thought about
every
being a
month.
drug dealer
Yeah,
so much.
every month.
I'm
so
so glad I
it's like
never did,
$400.
'cause
You get money to
They can
study.
study.
Exactly.
Why are people getting involved in gangs then?
Well, I think that they
In high
have
school, I
a
was
different
always
background.
like,
People from
what if
like
I was a
war
drug
and,
dealer? I
and
could be
things like
rich.
that.
Sure.
And many kids grow up here with no passion. Schools doesn't have any type of like
Me too,
good
Angelic, but I thought about it so many
education
times.
that discipline
so
kids.
dumb.
They don't have that.
Why come to Sweden if the Swedens aren't, let's say, welcoming and
Because well, our countries,
Yeah.
people are suffering there. As you see now in Gaza,
Yeah.
people are dying. Basically.
That makes sense. I guess my question is why Sweden specifically and not maybe a neighboring like UAE or a Middle Eastern country?
I would say because UAE and so on, they didn't open doors.
Okay.
Actually, they are Muslim countries and they are our
Damn.
people somehow, but they didn't open their doors. It was
could never be a
Sweden
drug dealer.
and Germany.
Where are you from originally?
I am
Or
from
from what I've
Palestine.
heard.
Palestine.
And
Okay.
can ruin your life
how do
in
you
one
like
day.
Sweden?
Yeah,
Good. Are they welcoming to refugees?
yeah. I'm drive bus.
You drive bus?
Yeah,
And you've been here for how long?
20 years.
20 years.
Yeah.
Do you plan on staying in Sweden forever?
No, not now. Not this. Not because the new politique. This is a.
Oh, the new politics are bad?
This is different.
How so? Bad?
Yeah.
In what ways?
Everything.
How so?
Economy.
Immigration?
Yeah.
How they treat you?
Not for me. I have Medbori. I have
Okay,
pass.
so you're in.
I'm from Sweden, Serbia, and Peru.
Okay.
Okay, are you born and raised here in Sweden?
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on Rinkeby?
How are
My
people
thoughts
from
in
so
that
many
sense.
places?
I don't know. It's a
Tim!
beautiful place
With
in
40
some senses,
vids.
but I think every place has its
That's
problems.
crazy. Like, for example, like, if I really wanted to, I guess I could, like, find out where my ancestors are from. Be like, oh, I'm German and Italian, born in America. German, Italian, American. Or, like, if you're just born there, you're not just Swedish. Like, yeah, you have, like, cultural roots to other countries. Like, are you multiple? If you're just, like, born in, I don't know, that always confuses me. How does that shit work?
Okay. What are some of the good things about this place? What are some of the bad things?
I would say like it's very common for people to really get to know each other. It's very family, like
American
we
vibe.
normally accept people from other places. I think many people have bad thoughts about this place just because it's a place where maybe it's very mixed with the cultures. And I think people normally have the tendency to really give this place a shot, like a really good chance. And I think if people would do that, it would get along
I mean,
with people
honestly,
living
it
here.
seems
I think
pretty
people already
peaceful.
have racist
Pretty
thoughts
chill
about this
there.
place.
I think that we are involved in the society. Many Syrians educate and go to universities and so on. So I'm not saying that the immigrants is very like not doing bad things.
Sure.
They are, and maybe they aren't like following the rules and so on. But the government could do better.
What's one change you'd like to see in the government?
Don't spread propaganda on social media
I wanna
about
see him
us
do this in
immigrants
America.
being the people who kill and so on. Because when it's a
Love you, Oz, baby.
Swedish man who like commits a rape,
And
they
Oz
send a
with
man.
8 month sub chat. Turn the fuck up.
It's a black man, they would put his name or something that shows you that he is not from Sweden.
Yeah.
But I don't think that we are committing more crimes than Swedes because they do commit crimes, but
Thank you so much
the
for
media
8 months.
doesn't
We're almost at
show.
our
Why
Twitch,
so many
baby,
shootings
Osby.
here?
Gang crimes.
Yeah. Why do
'Cause I'm
people
born
from
here.
your understanding or speculation get involved in
Consider
gangs
yourself
out here?
Mexican
I would
or
say
American?
the main reason
born
maybe
here.
you cannot pay your
Like,
bills. I don't think everyone
end of the
chooses
day.
to do these things.
And also,
I'd be like, go on down the road, you fuck.
if you want to support our boots on the
Another
all
ad.
effortless and African products, Thai, sushi. So we're in Rinkeby, and here we are. This is what the famous spot where the wheelchair guy drove into the dude attacking the boom mic operator. So we're noticing, just do a pan, every walk of life we're seeing. So we got a cool ethnic market here. We got Palestine Cola. This is truly a melting pot we're witnessing. This reminds me of New York in a lot of ways. And last but not least,
Palestine
the Islamic
Cola.
Culture Center. We're in front of the police station of Rinkeby. Can you tell me some of the problems and difficulties they face building this place?
Yeah, so when they started building this place a couple of years
You're
ago,
amazing, I love you.
the
I
construction
love you.
workers got attacked, and they had a really hard time also getting the stuff here because of like roadblocks and stuff.
Who
So
were they getting attacked by?
like local gangs
Okay.
and gang members.
That didn't want a police station right in the heart of Rinkeby?
Yeah,
For obvious reasons?
yeah, for obvious reasons, At some point, you perhaps also could understand that from a criminal point of view, having a police station like this, also quite big, you could understand that, of course. On this building, you have like fireproof walls from the outside as
Yeah.
well to not like be able to throw Molotov cocktails and stuff.
Fireproof, bulletproof, drive-proof.
Yeah.
Why?
Because we are in Rinkeby.
Damn.
and,
This is a fortress we're looking at right here.
So what they also do is they escort police from here and
Yeah.
to work. So for example, if you're a local policeman here and you arrest someone here at the center,
Oh,
then you go back here, change uniform, and walk to the subway station.
With police guards.
Yeah, exactly.
The police themselves are afraid of getting attacked after they do their job and arrest people here.
Yeah, and that's why they got the escort from here.
But I wanted to hear from an immigrant
Damn.
who moved to Sweden when she was 20 and became the first black police officer in Sweden. Is integration
Wow, the
possible?
first
And why are
black
so many
police
migrant
officer in
youth turning to a
Sweden.
life of crime? And we're in a big police compound.
crazy.
This place is fortified. Why is that?
I mean, it starts with like for maybe 10 years ago, we have community policing and we have small stations. And then one day someone threw a hand grenade on the building, and then the politician decided that we should build a huge police station that will be in Rinkeby. I became police officer 2006, right? So between 2006 to 2015,
They got their
or 14.
Sweden got their first black police officer in 2006. That's crazy.
Everything was cool here.
Sure.
You have more like small crimes like I don't know, burglary and theft. Those small things. After 2015, then we start the gang violence
my
in Sweden.
roots. Hell
And
yeah, I
then
love that.
We have certain
Hello.
groups who start to build kind of gang, what they call themselves. Sure. We're having shooting before in Södertälje, where we have immigrants from Middle East, but Christian immigrants from Middle East, who also build their own, kind of gang. It's more like mafia. I mean, and burning cars, like shooting, throwing stone on the police officers.
2006,
but now, from 2021 up to now, everything's quiet here because we were not sitting down and watching them. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Start from 2015.
Okay.
Yeah.
During the refugee crisis?
Yeah, that's most of the people say that it's because of the refugees, but I can say because most of the people who are in the gang violence, most of them born here in Sweden.
Okay.
And they came to Sweden for many years ago. They are not like the new migrant.
So these are second-gen children of immigrants?
Of course. Yeah. Those youth, they have to feel like they're part of this society. They are Swedish too. You cannot give a person.
It's hard to get someone with a completely different culture and like different background, different thought process, different outlook to be involved in the community and culture of your own. You know what I mean?
Making the person feeling that you're not a part of the society because you look different. In living in an area when most of them are immigrant, how can you be a part of the society if you don't know the rules?
You're supposed to be the history teacher.
You're not learning anything.
If I were a kid and if I were to throw a grenade into this room, for instance, what could you do as a police officer? And then how would the court system take me in as, let's say, a 13-year-old?
I'm a 13-year-old. I mean, nothing going to happen.
Nothing would happen?
No.
You would take me into custody and
we don't want to take you to custody. We'll take you and the social will take over the whole investigation.
In America, that would not
kind
happen.
of, how do you call it, HBV, or CIS, is kind of, it's not really jail, but it's more like a place where they get educated or...
Even if I were to throw a grenade at a police officer.
That's the system in Sweden. I say that they should throw them to jail and they have to learn. If you throw a hand grenade, you can get 10 years old. Or if they caught you with the arm, a gun, 10 years old. If you sit down there, you're going to start to think. At the same time, the government have to prepare. But what's happening in Sweden is like they throw you in the prison, and then after when you get out, you don't have anything to go. Where do you go? You go back to your friends.
Sure, and then you throw another hand grenade or shoot someone else.
Or because your parents are from another country, you have to learn Swedish too. Why Swedish too? Why don't I study Swedish as my Swedish?
Okay. Swedish is taking these young children who are born here to learn Swedish as their second language.
Exactly.
And they're born in Sweden.
Yes.
But they're never going to truly feel Swedish.
Exactly. They try to do that with me. My father came to the school and said, hey, what?
Can, let's say an immigrant is coming here to Sweden right now. Can they become Swedish? Can they integrate into society?
Of course they can if you make it easy for them. Give them the tools. Make it easy for them. Let the parents to be parents. They have to also to tell us, immigrant coming here, okay, if you come to my country, this is the law. No one is telling you. Everyone is going to the survey.
If you don't like
How
the
do we
law
know
of the
about
country you're
what
in,
we
then
have to
leave,
do?
unfortunately.
You have to tell me, this is the law, we want you to follow it. Now they are saying that. Even they're still saying that, but
Unless
they're
you're
not
in America,
telling
we're gonna
what to do
change that
either.
shit.
They have to be proud themselves about their own culture.
Oh my
before
god,
they
bro.
can
Election
introduce that
day
culture
is
to
in
me.
like
If
2
they don't know
weeks.
about
This
culture
world, this
themselves, how
nation
can they
is gonna
introduce the culture
fucking
to me
fall
as a
apart.
foreigner? They have to know who they are first
No matter who
before they
wins,
tell us who we
shit
are.
is gonna hit the fan.
Who they want you to
People are gonna
be.
freak
Who they want us
out.
to be. As the Swedish, what's the Swedish culture? They will say, yes,
It's gonna be
Openness.
crazy.
openness, stand in a queue. You go to, that's not the culture. They can't define their own culture.
The segregation in this country is what you're seeing in many different places like this. We were just visiting central Stockholm the other day, and there you saw a whole other picture.
Totally different.
Totally different.
This is entirely Middle Eastern and African people in Sweden.
Yeah.
Because you guys let them in and you guys welcome them.
We had the prime ministers talking on national television
Good
to open
interviews,
our
very
hearts
educational,
and to be
a lot of
accepting.
good thoughts.
And you did.
Conversations.
Yeah, for almost 40 years, perhaps.
And now you're paying some of these people 34,000 USD to go back? Is that the idea?
Yeah, the current government has imposed an amount of money to return back. It got quite big in Sweden with multiple headlines of a full plane going back to Iraq.
After hearing from Risa, I met up with Marcus, the chairman of the Conservative Student Union at University of Stockholm, Bilan Osman, a Muslim activist, journalist, and second-gen Somalian immigrant, and Arvi, a spokesman from a conservative think tank Oikos, to see if they too thought it was the government's fault that migrant youth are struggling to integrate.
Sweden has always had minorities. Sweden portrays itself as as a, how do you say it, like homogeneous country, where everyone is like white and blonde and so on. But there has been minorities in Sweden for like centuries. So Sweden has never been like this blue-eyed, blonde country. But in like the 1930s, we had a lot of migration, mainly because of work. The last decades, because of the wars. But in the beginning of the 90s, Sweden became a kind of racist country. We funded the Race Biology Institute, where you measured people's heads and even sterilized minorities.
Are the people themselves trying to integrate themselves into society? Where's the disconnect?
Is this Minecraft music?
Of course, a lot of them actually are integrating society.
Yeah.
That would be righteous to say. But and the government is trying, but they have for a long time tried to just throw money at these places. But for some reason, they are not being able to integrate anyways.
Why is that?
Yeah, I don't think they want to integrate. I think that's the answer. They came to Sweden for the economical incentives. They didn't come here to become Swedes. So I think a lot of people, their own background is quite solid. They want to keep that as well. For example, something obvious these days, that we cannot take in infinite of number of new people from a different culture, right? You have to have this integration, assimilation process. That was highly controversial in Sweden for like 15 years ago. So we're having this political thinking, which is not controversial at all, really, in the parliament already through the Swedish Democrats and stuff, and they're not far-right, alt-right people at all. Everyone is concerned about the criminality that's coming up through second and first generation migrants, so everyone is very concerned. And
well, in a way, we're trying to rediscover what Swedish
two-party
conservatism is. One can say, at least, that what has really rejuvenated Swedish conservatism, the impulse which has made it relevant again, is an opposition to uncontrolled immigration, which has been the dominant political issue in Sweden for now at least 15 years. There are many different kinds of negative effects of uncontrolled third world mass immigration. One obvious is crime. Today we have gangsterism in Sweden like interwar Chicago. We have as many bombings per capita as in Mexico. So, and Sweden used to be a very, very safe country.
There's a bunch of studies about this. If you're named
Mohammed, let's say,
her voice couldn't.
Then you have a lesser chance to get a job or buy a house. That doesn't mean that because your name is Fatima Mohammed, your life will suck. But there's been a lot of studies when it comes to the racist culture in Sweden. We have a tendency to not acknowledge that racism exists in Sweden because of, you said that Sweden has always been welcoming toward refugees, and that's kind of true in some sense. I think that has also been like an excuse to not acknowledge
Where does Tyler
the
find all
racist
these
society
people
that
that
we
are
live
like
in?
just sitting around doing nothing and have time for like this like intellectual conversation? Like I'm never out in public and I just have time to sit down and have like a random like, I mean it'd be nice, it'd be cool, but like damn.
Media was that if you opposed immigration on
Girl
any
sat
ground,
down for
that
an
means
hour,
you're a racist. Even if you said that there might be some potential downside, you're a racist. Swedish public debate is like a school of fish, right?
Yeah.
So everyone changes position at the same time. So now everyone is kind of opposed to this. But up until 2015, this was, and that's why the Sweden Democrats grew so much. They had a monopoly on saying that immigration could possibly be a bad thing. Now you have like 5 parties who say that bad or, not too good. So there's far more competition in that way. I saw some data from The Economist today. This was not from Sweden, it was from Denmark, but should be pretty much the same, where they had looked at the fiscal effects of immigration from different parts of the world. But the average effect from an immigrant from the Middle East and North Africa was that they were a fiscal burden throughout their life, even, and this is important, even in their prime working age.
Do you think migrants from Muslim countries are integrating well into Sweden, and is Sweden helping them integrate into Sweden?
I'm kind of allergic to the integration.
Tell me why.
The only way to adapt to a society is that you get the chance to have a job, to have good education. That for me is like integration. But in the Swedish society, we're more talking about assimilation, that people that are coming to Sweden Sweden has to change the way they are, and that's problematic. People don't have to have one identity; they can have multiple. Like a couple days ago, we had it was a debate in Sweden between the party leaders, and the leader for
West
the
Virginia, some of these country places, like those old redneck towns, bro, you could find some old dude standing on the block ready to tell you a story for 2 hours anyway, down south in America.
Democrats said that
Let me tell you a
Islam doesn't
story real
always
quick.
adapt to Swedish values. What does that mean? I'm a Swedish Muslim. In which way is there a conflict between Islam and Sweden? That's a false narrative, and that's the problem with the society.
I think some of the laws or precepts in the Quran and the precepts of Islam conflict with Swedish society and Swedish law?
First of all, if you look at the world population, 1/4 is Muslims. The way someone see Islam in Afghanistan or in Somalia or in Iran or in Sweden is obviously different. We have lots of different interpretations of what Islam is. I don't believe in the concept that Islam is one thing that has a conflict with Western values.
So Swedes have, I think, a much harder way grappling with and understanding Islam than people would have in the US or in Poland, where people actually still believe in God. For Swedes, Islam is just some superficial.
Sweetie pie with 1,000 motherfucking bits. Holy shit. Yo, thank you so much for the fucking rack. Turn the fuck up. I appreciate it. So I just Googled this double check. So according to the Quran, a girl is ready for marriage at her first period. Don't girls get their period where they're 12 or 13? And then also according to the Quran, the father or the figurehead of the family gets to decide who she's married to, and for like profit and benefit. So like I get it, but like also that's kind of scary, bro. Like kind of scary. Like I think Christian people can be scary sometimes. Uda, with a prime for 21 months. Thank you so much for giving me your prime and the 20 months of love and support. Like I think Christian people are scary sometimes. Like some of the shit they be doing, saying, and like especially how like Christian people are like, oh Trump, you're God, baby Jesus Trump. Like they're scary, but like marrying a girl off, like having sex when they're like 12, 13, and like it doesn't say that in the Bible, but I'm just saying, but like that's kind of whoa. I get we gotta respect religion, but whoa.
Thing. It's like, yeah, you know, they don't drink alcohol, but maybe there are Swedes who don't drink alcohol either.
They're killing. Oh yeah, dude. I've seen so many videos on Twitter on like these snuff pages where like they figure out like these Muslim countries, they find like a gay couple or a gay man or guys kissing or sleeping together, and they throw them off a building or just throw rocks and like kill them. Literally, it's illegal, like punishable by death. Punishable by death.
The fact that people would actually care deeply about religion is an alien idea to many Swedes. People didn't imagine at all that we would have a large number of mosques in Sweden, or maybe it would be a temporary thing because Muslims should stop being Muslims, because why would they be Muslims?
So the expectation was these Muslim migrants would leave their religion behind and become truly Swedish.
Yeah, I imagine so.
Okay. So for example, we have a big issue in Sweden with rapes, sexual assaults, and they are coming from first-generation migrants. But we also have having a big issue with gang criminals, which is completely unique for Sweden. We haven't had that before, and that is a result of the second generation of migrants not integrating in Swedish society.
So why do you think second generation non-ethnically Swedish youth are becoming members of gangs and committing crimes disproportionately?
There's individual factors when it comes to mental health, or that many of them have ADHD or have had trouble in school. That doesn't mean that everyone that come from like a single household or from a poor environment or have ADHD
Yeah, that's kind of fucked.
Will go into gang violence, but we have a huge
Getting
problem.
married, having kids
so for
in the
example,
United
they are
States at
growing
12 or
up in an
13
environment
with a
which
grown man,
is
though, is
not,
still pretty,
there are
like,
no incentives to
the cops
get
are gonna
involved
get
in the majority
called.
society, and they're living in these clusters with
Somebody,
people from their
at some
own
point.
culture, right? So they feel not feeling that they are belonging
It's not
to the Swedish
legal.
society. Therefore, they are having a growing resentment to the Swedish culture.
Why is one specific group acting disproportionately in a certain manner?
So that's why the question in itself doesn't help. So if we're talking about how can social services be better in having contact with the schools that young children are,
Sure.
that's a solution.
Okay.
Or how can, like, the law informants, how can they have a better communication with social services and schools?
Okay.
That's a solution. We have already 100 years ago agreed as an international
minute, no, for
community
real, bro.
that there are not different
There's a ride or
races.
die.
You are not born with some kind of qualities that is in line with your skin color or your religion and so on. We don't have any most impact when it comes to gang violence. It's the non-white people in the suburban places where those kind of shootings are going on. They are the biggest victims.
So they're
in this.
killing each other?
It's not killing each other. It's like
Who's killing them?
criminals that are attacking people in our society.
Who are these criminals predominantly?
I don't know. I don't have any kind of statistics to say that.
Gangs. These are, I wouldn't say 100% immigrants or the children of immigrants, but maybe 95, 99, 98%, something like that. Now, this doesn't mean that indigenous Swedes never commit any crimes at all. They certainly do. Many crimes, especially violent crime, sexual crime, there is a very strong overrepresentation among certain immigrant groups. I would say that people who commit less crimes are, for example, Vietnamese immigrants, Southeast Asian ones, Thai, certainly Japanese, Chinese, while you have very strong overrepresentation when we're talking about groups from Middle East, North Africa, Africa. 25 years, so it's come up, we've had about 2 million immigrants come to Sweden. If these had been 2 million Norwegians, we wouldn't have this discussion today.
Do you think Sweden has an obligation to help refugees?
Sweden actually has that because after the Second World War, a lot of countries decided to adapt to the United Nations Declaration on Human Rights.
I mean, like,
and
at
one
the
of
same
those
time,
human rights
like,
is that
that
every
guy didn't
person
give any
and every
statistics,
human
like,
being
he
has
was
a
just, like,
value, and every human being has the right
trying to make a guesstimation
seek,
from his own bias.
asylum,
Refuge.
and nothing
I
has
don't know if that's a
changed.
fact.
But the only thing that has changed in Europe is that we are heading to more and more fascist and nationalists kind of politics in Europe.
But the question is, why do they go through like 15 countries to come to Sweden?
That's my question. Yeah,
exactly. So
or both?
I think there are huge economical incentives to come here to Sweden, obviously, but they can do that through
Bro,
the asylum
Europe looks
process
so
as
much
well.
more
This
gloomy. The
idea
colors
from
of
the
stuff
60s,
just are not as bright
Like,
there.
we should have a lot of
Like in America,
foreign
our
aid,
grass
we
is
should
brighter,
care
our
about
trees
the
are
third world,
brighter.
but we should care about Nicaragua, and we should care about Somalia, and we should care, all these countries far away.
Europe looks like
well, because that
like
was virtuous.
how
They used to
life
say that
looks in a
Sweden
dream.
is a humanitarian superpower. And there was this idea that, Sweden, after World War II, Sweden together with Switzerland and the US, Sweden was the richest country in the world. And we had this idea, this feeling that we're actually better than other people. We're rich, we're the best, we have the most progressive, most modern society, we're the model for the world. And the fact that we were rich because we had stayed out of World War II and didn't have our industries bombed into dust and could profit from rebuilding all the rest of Europe, people didn't want to think about that part. But this meant that we were the best and most virtuous people in the world, the model for the world. Everyone should be like us. We got this idea that
Who the
Swedishness
fuck
is not
thought
a
that?
particular culture. It's not.
I know
having a
people.
common
I know
history.
people had like a good idea of Sweden and like what it meant to be Swedish, but like no one in America was like, "Yo, we should be like Sweden." Fuck that. I feel like only Swedish people thought that, and they thought everyone else thought that too. Bro, I ain't never heard a single person was like, "Man, I wish I was Swedish."
A specific language or anything like that. No, it means being modern. And Sweden was the most modern country in the world. And if you immigrate to Sweden from another country, as soon as you pass the border, you cross the border, you become Swedish, right?
The idea of a national state is old. The national state and the ID doesn't work anymore. Of course, Sweden is multicultural. Sweden works. I don't see any bombs.
No, you're right.
Of course,
Yeah.
multicultural is the only way that the world works. People that
Same
are
with the
are
Swiss.
nationalists. I
Yeah,
think that
no,
they are
I'm saying
most
like I've
more,
heard that like
like,
Sweden is one of like the more like well modeled countries in Europe, and they've done a lot better for themselves in different ways, but
nostalgic and thinking about a time that doesn't exist and haven't existed in a long time.
Their premise people are thinking on that everyone wants to become Swedes, right? And when Swedish people meet other people from different cultures, they realize that they don't want the influence except for food or whatever. It's a joke in Sweden. Yeah, so Swedish people don't want that at all. And not even the one who actually believes that they want to either. They are living on Södermalm here south of Stockholm, where everyone is Swedes already, hanging out with their Swedish friends, going to Swedish bars.
Are you seeing like Swedish white flight moving out of neighborhoods that are being flooded with new migrants? Is that what's happening?
We have Swedish white flight areas in Sweden. Yeah, definitely.
If I moved here, would you consider me a Swede after a few years of integration?
No, you are not a Swede.
Okay.
But that's also all right. You don't have to be a Swede, right? It's not mandatory to be a Swede. If you
Someone would get offended by you saying
States,
that, is my guess.
So
yeah,
to be
maybe.
like us.
But
I
I don't care.
No, for sure.
What are your hopes for Sweden
I
in the
mean,
next
our
20 years?
immigration
I
numbers
want
versus
it
theirs
to
from
be-
2015 till now. Look. They've had 2 million since 2015. Jesus fucking Christ. We've had 46 million immigrants since 2015. Holy fuck. I mean, our country is like, yeah, is like, since 2015, yeah, I mean, 20 million per year. Jesus. Around 1.6 million a year with surges depending on Dang, since 2015, Sweden took in 2 million immigrants and we took in 6 million. What's the population of Sweden? Okay, so our population is way different. Sweden has about 9 million people and we have about 500 million. So there is a huge population difference between Sweden and the United States.
More of the Sweden that I love. Sometimes I miss my own home country.
That is Sweden?
Yeah,
Okay.
like I have felt like, especially the last 20 years, I would say, we have had
that
an
size
increase
diff.
when it comes to hate crimes, when it comes to the impact that the
Of
right-wing
LA?
movement has had. I want it to be the democratic country that I know Sweden is. And
Pretty sure
there's
LA,
a whole
just the city of LA has 5 million people in it. Just the city of Las Vegas has 5 million people. So there are more people in LA and Las Vegas than the whole fucking country of Sweden.
racist movement here. There are a
In
lot of
just 2 cities.
anti-fascists, and this is my comrades, and I will keep on hoping that we will win.
There's
Millions
an
of
American
United
saying,
States
if you find
cities.
yourself in a hole, first thing you do is stop digging, right? The current right-wing government is very anti-immigrant.
Way too many people
right?
here,
The main
yeah.
force of the Swedish
We're like,
left,
what, the
so-called
third biggest
Democrats,
country?
they're moving in that direction as well. And they're surrounded by a large native population, they will be absorbed somehow. But if the immigrants become too many, then they might very well stay unassimilated in their own communities.
And they're the majority.
Yeah, in certain areas, in certain communities, they're definitely the majority, especially
China,
because of
India,
segregation. There is
United
one
States.
important thing, and that is the changes we see in Swedish politics
Population.
today. They are the biggest changes in Swedish politics for a century. They're the biggest
China,
changes
India, the
in our
United States
political
were third
structure
as far as
since Sweden
population.
became a full democracy.
I'm quite optimistic for the future in Sweden, but it will take a long time.
Okay.
You have to come back in 10, 15 years and
Okay.
ask me again.
Yeah.
So-
Is remigration a part of this solution, in your opinion?
Sweden
Yeah, it will
has
be.
9 million people as of right now. 2 million of those people have been immigrants since 2015. So, like, their population hasn't really grown that much. And, like, they went from, like, being, like, 7, 8 million people, and they increased their size by just importing a bunch of. Well, I don't know how that worked, but that's kind of crazy.
Firstly, this with economical incentives, but then will be forced also. I'm pretty sure about that.
When I talk to foreign conservative friends about the changes in Sweden, they often believe this, because it's one thing when you have the right ruling in Poland or in the US or in Slovenia.
Sure.
It's something else entirely when Sweden, the supposed progressive socialist paradise, turns to the right or even the hard right. Then people really say, wait, what's going on? Is Sweden perhaps a canary in the coal mine?
As the world continues to globalize and wealthy nations import third world migrants for cheap labor to support their lowering birth rates, and in the name of kindness and diversity, we should be asking ourselves, what is a society and culture willing to sacrifice of itself to accommodate those it welcomes? And is a kebab stand in every street corner worth sacrificing a country's entire culture? What do you think?
I mean, bro, that's just life and history. I do think that, like, for the first time ever in, like, the world, like, people are like, no, we gotta protect what was real and mattered to us 150 years ago. Like, there's, like, people, like, in South North Carolina who are, like, still holding on to, like, the Confederate fucking war, like, they fought in it. They're like, this is Charleston, South Carolina. This should be the white, like, countries, civilizations throughout the whole entire, like, history have changed, have been, like, immigrants have come and it's changed and molded and meshed, become something new, rebuilt, the same for 20, 50 years, and it's switched up and changed. And now, like, there's this big movement of, like, oh, we can't change, we gotta protect this little perfect. It's weird. It's strange, I guess. I don't know. Another new